Huh. Fools. They watched you walk through fire and assumed the flames would finish you. They saw the smoke rise and mistook it for your funeral. But oh, how wrong they were. You weren't dying, you were transforming. Every ash on your skin was a badge, every burn, a lesson. And now that you've stepped out of the inferno without screaming, without crawling, without begging, they've started realizing the legend wasn't born to entertain them. It was born to outlive them. And just like that, their delusions began to rot. Because reality hit harder than any revenge, you're not the version they mocked. You're the version they never saw coming. They tried to box you into their boring little blueprint. Another name, another number, another easy target. But you didn't just step outside the box, you crushed it. And with every shattered edge, you carved a crown out of their expectations. They whispered behind your back because your silence was deafening. They copied your steps thinking they'd reach your throne. But legends don't walk roads, they create them. And while they were busy comparing timelines, you were bending reality to your own myth. You didn't follow rules, you broke patterns. And now the same people who labeled you lost are studying your map, trying to find themselves in a place they never had the courage to explore. They called you crazy, because sane never scared them. But you terrified them. You didn't fit into their good versus bad, hero versus villain nursery rhymes. You were the glitch in their fairy tale, the shadow that never obeyed the light. You weren't here to be liked. You were here to be remembered. And now that your name echoes louder than their lies, they can't help but panic. Because they tried to erase you with gossip, bury you with silence, and blind you with doubt. But legends don't need eyes to see. They feel the battlefield. They breathe the war. And you, oh you, have turned pain into performance, scars into symphonies, and hate into your personal marketing team. They didn't see the work. They only saw the results. They weren't there when you were bleeding in rooms with no applause. They weren't there when the voices in your head were louder than any crowd. They weren't there when failure kissed your feet like a lover and begged you to quit. But now that you're roaring, now that your presence is a punch to their fragile egos, they act shocked. Shocked that you're still standing. Shocked that you're still smiling. Shocked that after all their sabotage, your glow refuses to dim. But that's the thing about legends. They don't just survive storms, they become them. And now the thunder in your voice is shaking foundations they swore were eternal. They thought they could outsmart you with manipulation, outtalk you with noise, outshine you with trends. But they forgot. The unreal ones don't compete. They dominate. Quietly, strategically, brutally. And while they flexed online, you built in silence. While they performed for likes, you rewrote legacies. And now, their timelines are haunted by your presence. Every scroll, a reminder that you didn't need their approval to be iconic. Every view, a confession. Every share, an apology disguised as admiration. But it's too late now. The moment passed, the game shifted, and you're not just ahead, you're untouchable. Because you didn't come to play. You came to rewrite the rules they thought they understood. They mocked the way you moved. They laughed at your vision. But every laugh was just fear wearing a mask. And deep down, they knew something about you wasn't normal. Something about you was dangerous. Because you didn't blink when the world turned on you. You didn't fold when the pressure hit. You didn't shrink to fit their narratives. You expanded, like madness, like myth. And now, they can't look away. They try to study you like a science project, hoping to decode your formula. But you're not logic. You're not method. You're chaos. Beautiful, strategic, surgical chaos. And chaos doesn't ask for permission. They tried to trap you in history books they wrote with biased ink. But legends don't beg for pages. They become the whole freaking genre. And now, they have to teach your name in silence, hoping their students don't ask why the same person they warned about became the standard they can't reach. It's poetic, really. The same mouths that doubted you now use you as an example. The same hands that built walls now wave white flags. But you don't forget. You don't forgive. You just ascend. And every step up the ladder echoes with their regrets. They feel it. That sting, that realization, that cruel twist of fate. You were never meant to blend in. They fed your anger and expected it to burn you. But you didn't self-destruct. You focused. You sharpened every insult into a blade. You collected every betrayal like ammunition. And when the time was right, you didn't throw tantrums. You launched warfare, precision strikes, mind games they weren't built for. And now they sit there, stunned, asking how. How did you do it? How did you rise? Simple. You didn't fight fair. You fought real. And real will always beat fake, no matter how loud, how popular, or how pretty the packaging is. They saw you as a phase, a fad, a glitch in their routine. But now your name is cemented, engraved into their nightmares. Because you didn't just rise, you redefined rising. You flipped failure into fuel. You kissed rock bottom on the forehead and used it as your throne. And now their minds, blown. Not just because you succeeded, but because you did it without them. Without apology, without compromise, without pretending. And that's what hurts them the most, that you never needed their permission, just their underestimation. They used to walk past you with smirks. Now they avoid eye contact. They used to gossip about your losses. Now they whisper about your moves like urban legends. Because deep down, they know. They missed it. The moment, the prophecy, the spark. You were right there, building something beyond their understanding, and they thought you were wasting time. But you weren't wasting. You were crafting a storm, a statement, a legend so unreal, it left reality gasping for air. And now their world feels smaller, because you grew too big to fit inside it. And it only gets worse for them from here. Because this was just the beginning. The moment they laughed was the moment they lost. The second they dismissed you, they unknowingly lit the fuse. And now, they're not watching your rise. They're living inside it. You became the storm they forgot to prepare for. And while they still cling to their comfort zones, you're orchestrating revolutions behind their backs. You didn't scream for attention. You moved like a ghost in a burning cathedral, untouchable, unpredictable. And now that the smoke has cleared, they see you standing there, not waiting for applause, but daring them to speak. They thought legends were crowned. No, legends are forged, in silence, in setbacks, in solitude. You didn't get here by asking for validation. You got here by bleeding in the background. You mastered patience while they chased distractions. You held your breath while they wasted theirs on small talk. And when the time came, You didn't knock on the door. You kicked it off its hinges and walked through like you owned the building. Now they sit behind locked screens, watching you break the rules they built their safety on. Their comfort is cracking because you've made it very clear you didn't come to participate. You came to dismantle. They assumed you'd crave their approval. They assumed wrong. Your power didn't come from being accepted. It came from being rejected again and again, until you no longer needed anyone's yes to be unstoppable. They gave you silence, so you learned to echo. They gave you pain, so you learned to perform. And now, they're addicted to the very presence they once tried to erase. They can't scroll past you, can't stop the flashbacks, can't mute the sound of your name echoing in rooms they thought you'd never enter. You became their favorite subject, without permission. Their minds, not just blown, but rewired. Because you didn't just become relevant, you became inevitable. They labeled you too much, too intense, too bold, too different, as if greatness ever came in moderation, as if legends are supposed to be palatable. But you weren't born to be consumed. You were born to consume spaces, narratives, illusions. You swallowed their comfort whole, then stared into the void and smirked, knowing you'd just begun. They feel that tremor now, in every conversation where your name slithers in uninvited. In every moment their ego twitches, wondering how you got this far without crumbling. But that's the thing. They only studied power. You became it. And the most terrifying part? You still haven't shown them everything. They rehearsed their victories for the camera. You prepared yours in the dark, and now the lights are on. And suddenly, they're overexposed. Their highlights don't hold up next to your reality. Their filters don't blur your impact. Because you didn't chase aesthetics. You bled authenticity. And now, the world listens when you speak. Not because you're loud, but because you're undeniable. Their staged celebrations feel hollow next to the roar of your silence. Their curated smiles tremble beneath the weight of your story. Because yours isn't a brand. It's a warning that anyone who underestimates you pays the full price in regret, in relevance, in ruin. They scroll through your journey now like it's fiction. Because to them, this level of transformation shouldn't be possible. People aren't supposed to rise like this. Not from that depth, not with that past, not with those odds. But you did. And the fact that you did it with no help, no shortcuts, no applause, that's what fractures their reality. You became living proof that they were never the standard. You rewrote what's possible. And now, their own stories feel small in comparison. Not because you tried to outshine them, but because they never imagined a light like yours could even exist. They ask each other in hushed tones, how did we miss it? They analyze your old steps, looking for the moment they could have caught the signal. But there was none. Because legends don't leave trails, they leave shockwaves. By the time you appeared in their world, it was already too late. You'd outgrown their reach, outpaced their narratives. And now, even when they try to tell their version of events, it collapses under the truth. They weren't ready for you. They never were. And deep down, they know. They don't deserve a seat at your table anymore. They can't imitate you. They've tried. Oh, how they've tried. Stole your words, your style, your rhythm. But imitation without essence is just theater. You weren't built from trends. You were built from trauma, tenacity, and a terrifying level of self-trust. And that can't be copied. That's why they always fall short. Because while they play dress-up, you carry legacy like a weapon. And you don't need to remind anyone who you are. The world does it for you now. Your name walks ahead of you like a shadow, entering rooms before you do. Not as a guest, but as the standard. Their logic can't compute you, because you didn't play their game. You flipped the board and walked away. You chose the long road when everyone else sprinted. And now that you've arrived, still breathing, still building, they're trying to re-enter your orbit. But this galaxy doesn't accept tourists. You aren't a trend. You're a timeline. And every second they spent doubting you is now a curse stitched into their story. You're the chapter they wish they could rewrite. But history doesn't offer refunds, only reminders. And your existence is the loudest one. They used to joke. Now they journal. They write about you in metaphors, hoping to understand what they witnessed. Because witnessing you feels like a glitch in reality. A moment where everything they believed about power, worth, and destiny got ripped apart. And in that split second, they realized they weren't the main character. You were. And while they wasted time chasing spotlights, you became the source of light. Not just seen, felt. And what they feel now is dread. Because you're still moving, still rising. And nothing they do can slow you down. They gossip like historians, but their timelines are crumbling. You didn't just break the mold. You melted it, rewrote the instructions, and created a new species of ambition. The kind that doesn't flinch, the kind that doesn't ask, the kind that commands. And their fragile systems are cracking under the pressure. You weren't supposed to survive, but you didn't just survive. You thrived in places they wouldn't last a day. And now you walk with the calm of a storm that knows exactly where it's headed. They can feel it in their bones, in their brands, in their boredom. And the irony? The ones who doubted you the loudest are now the ones following in silence, watching, studying, mimicking, because even their denial can't hide the truth anymore. You're not a moment, you're a movement. And movements don't need validation. They leave evidence, in scars, in echoes, in legacies carved out of disbelief. And the further you rise, the more they shrink in your shadow. Because this isn't your peak, this is your foundation. And what's coming next? Let's just say, it's going to make their shattered pride look like the calm before the storm. And now, they stand at the edge of their world, looking in at yours. But it's not the world they thought they were controlling? No, you're not a page in their script. You've rewritten the entire narrative. They played their cards in the light, assuming you'd fold. But you didn't just play in the dark, you became it. And now, their little game is in ruins, spread out like shattered glass beneath your feet. They underestimated the quiet strength you built, the strategy you mastered without needing anyone's permission. Now, as they try to pick up the pieces, they realize something terrifying. They weren't prepared for this version of you. They once thought you were beneath them, something to be ignored, dismissed, maybe even laughed at. But every time they turned away, you were silently rising, crafting your empire in the shadows, building with the things they thought they had more of: time, resources, connections. You used what they had in excess to fuel what they didn't even see coming. Every rejection they handed you became a new stone in your foundation. Every doubt, a sharpening tool for your mind. They thought they were watching a struggle. What they missed was the transformation. What they saw as a setback, you saw as an opportunity to shift. They stand now in the rubble of their own perception, the walls they built between themselves and the reality you were creating collapsing. Their comfort zones have been violated, their assumptions shattered. You didn't give them a chance to prepare. You didn't need to, because you were never playing by their rules. You created a new game, and they're scrambling to even understand how to join it. Their world, too small for the force you've become. They don't know it yet, but this is just the beginning of their undoing. But here's the cruelest part of it all, the one thing they'll never admit. You were never their competition. They were always chasing something you never wanted. You weren't trying to outdo them. You were simply becoming something beyond them. While they burned their energy trying to secure what little they could hold on to, you were growing in ways that made their pursuits irrelevant. Their fear of your potential wasn't born from envy. No. It was born from a fundamental truth they couldn't even name. Because if you were who they said you were too much for them to even understand. So they settled into their bubbles, surrounded by echo chambers, afraid to see what they didn't want to face. And now, your presence in their lives, it's undeniable. Not because you seek validation, but because you are validation. You stand as the proof of what happens when a person no longer waits for permission. They think they're outsmarting you, making moves behind closed doors. But the truth is, you've already seen all their moves. And while they make their little games, you're out here designing the future. The ripple effect of your actions doesn't just touch them, it redefines them. You're not just a threat to their egos. You're a reality check for everything they thought was certain. Every moment of doubt they aimed at you is now the anchor that sinks them. And they know it. They've felt it in their bones for months, maybe even years, but they couldn't bring themselves to admit it. That feeling in their gut, that terror they can't shake, it's the feeling of inevitability. They see it in your eyes now, not the anger they once dismissed, not the desperation they once laughed at. They see determination, sharp, relentless, and calm in its fury. It's not the kind of determination that comes from wanting to win. No, your determination comes from the realization that they never even understood the game. They played their hand too early, and now their cards are on the table for the world to see. They thought their world was a carefully constructed illusion, and they were the architects. But they never saw you as the wrecking ball that would expose their walls for what they truly were. Fragile, hollow, built on the quicksand of arrogance. They were never your competition. They were always the audience. And you were the show. They thought they could watch from the sidelines. Now they're paying the price for being passive spectators in the story of your rise. They are living through the fallout of their own choices, and the weight of it is crushing them slowly. And as they watch you from the distance they once thought was safe, they're learning what it feels like to lose control, to lose everything they thought they had a right to lose themselves. Every time they try to piece together their fragile sense of superiority, you shatter it with something new, something they weren't prepared for. it's not just about what you've accomplished. It's about what they failed to accomplish while they were busy pretending you didn't matter. They underestimated the slow burn of your resolve. They thought your fire was temporary, something to be put out with the next distraction. But you were never a flame to be extinguished. You were a wildfire, the kind that can't be controlled, the kind that rearranges the landscape. And now, they're left with the wreckage of their old beliefs. Their past selves echo in the ruins. They try to reach for the familiar, to find solace in the lies they told themselves about who you were and who they were. But their lies don't hold up anymore. The truth is too loud, too persistent. You are that legend now, the one they thought could never rise, the one they thought was an afterthought in their perfect little world. You're the storm they thought was a passing cloud, and now they're stuck in its eye, watching as you sweep everything they've built into oblivion. And here's the most beautiful irony of it all. They'll never be able to catch up. They'll always be behind you, because while they've been chasing the ghosts of their own superiority, you've been chasing something much more powerful, something they can't even see yet. The real power, the power that creates change, the power that doesn't need validation, the power that exists outside of their carefully constructed limits. And the further you go, the more they'll be forced to look back, because there's only one thing left for them to realize. Their time is up, and your time, it's just getting started. What's coming next? It's not just your future, it's their end. Let them watch, let them tremble. They can't unsee the truth anymore. They can't outrun the force you've become. You've already left them behind, and all they can do now is try to figure out how they missed it, how they missed you. But that's the thing about legends, isn't it? They're never about being understood. They're about being unavoidable. And now, the world knows. You're an unreal legend, and nothing they do will ever change that.